For a better future, let's talk about what matters. Hey everyone, it's Zimmah Neinaka, your host for the Yumi Talk, Yumi Walk podcast. And today we're diving into another powerful conversation here today, and it's about sustainable infrastructure. That's right, roads, bridges, all of that stuff and many more. And we're also highlighting on what the European Union initiatives are currently in the country to help our communities. It's all about access, safety, trade, and climate resilience for our communities across Papua New Guinea. And today I have two very interesting guests joining me here today, and I'll let them introduce themselves. We'll start with ladies and then we'll have the gentlemen.
Hello everyone, my name is Theodora. I've just completed my final year at IBSU and I'm studying economics and development studies. I am passionate about climate change and I also do research to support my passion for it. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Nelson Kokoa. I am the founder and director of Art Activism PNG and the Resistance Dance Company. But during the day, when I'm not doing all of that, I am in project management with the Focus Marketing Solutions Limited. I'm very passionate about youth development and youth empowerment, and I'm very excited to be on this podcast today.
Well, there you have it, guys. Here are our guests, and let's start.
Yeah, let's start. Let's get into it.
All right. So the approach to sustainable infrastructure is not just about the physical aspect of the infrastructure, but it's all about, sustaining the present needs, meeting the present needs of the people, but also not compromising the future. So sustainability is all about preserving for the future. Well, that's how I think. And infrastructure, when you look at infrastructure, like buildings, roads, and all that stuff. But I really want to get your views. What do you guys think, or what comes to mind when you think about sustainable infrastructure? We'll start with Theodora.
So when we're talking about sustainable infrastructure, we're really talking about developments that supposed to meet our needs today without compromising the needs for future generation. So it's basically not about just building roads, but it's ensuring that these roads are climate resilient and the water systems are accessible and reliable for our community and also for the people in the future.
Yeah, and I think I agree with that definition. If we were to break down the two words, right, infrastructure and sustainability. If you talk about infrastructure, you're talking about the physical things that we see every day, right? Like for example, my home. I wake up every day in a nice built home.
This building,
this mic, and we go to work, right? We go to work where there's a building, there's power, all of that. So the physical stuff that we see, right? And then sustainability, if we're talking about sustainability, coming back to what Theodora said, something that doesn't just affect us or affect us positively in the present, but, it can affect us and positively in the future as well, like continue to have that impact on us for generations and, over time, right? So I think putting those two together, it's pretty much similar to what Theodora said, yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree because I love how you put it, where infrastructure is what we see physically, but sustainability is the impact that it could have on that physical infrastructure. And so we should really be thinking about how can we be more sustainable and how the ways we deal with the infrastructure that's already there. For you personally, how does infrastructure affect you? Like, how do you think it affects you in your daily lives, whether that be education, work? How has it been an important part to your daily life?
For me, I think it's just wonderful to have power in my home.
For sure.
I think, as Papua New Guineans, we already know the struggles of having, power supply, not just in the city, but everywhere else in Papua New Guinea. Yeah. And just to have that privilege of just having, light and not just that, but clean water, right, at home. And I always like to compare my way of living to my uncles and aunties in the village who might not have the same privileges.
True.
And so, what affects me, what type of infrastructure, affects my day-to-day life would most definitely be the home that I wake up in every day, right? Even the roads, coming to work every day on good roads and having access to, services in the city itself.
It's a privilege.
It's a privilege. And like I said, I always like to compare. I know it's sad and I don't always like to, but comparing my life to, my loved ones in the village.
It's something to be grateful for.
It's something to be grateful for. So that's...
How about you?
Yeah.
Well, for me, I would say a good water system. I think we all experience water here. So having clean water every day, that's a privilege for all of us. So I would definitely say that having a good water system that's accessible to everyone, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess we all have that point of view because I guess we come from the city and we've grown up here in the city, and like you said, we always look back and we see that the least of the opportunities are back in our rural areas, and actually that brings us to the next segment. So urban areas like here in the city in Port Moresby, we have access to clean water, well, somewhat. We have power supply. We at least have big buildings and shops, and everything that we have is pretty much there, even if it's not the best, we still have it. And it's something for us to be, see it as a privilege. But if we look in our rural areas, we have a lot of challenges that we face in terms of water or in terms of, the simple basic services. And what the European Union has actually done, they've done a lot for our rural communities. And the way I see it, or the way it's been done, is it's very community based. So they go down into our rural communities, bringing the team with them to actually see what our people are facing as real-time challenges, and how can they bring through their partnerships, how can they bring these services, build these sustainable infrastructures for the people. So really like how you've tapped on it, but how could you guys compare like the living conditions? Like I've given a little brief overview of how I think, but how do you think the difference is like between our urban areas here and our rural areas? Just for the youths that are listening to really hear that, if there are challenges to tackle in our rural areas, what can they do? So if you guys could just give me a few of your thoughts. I think I'll start with you.
Yeah, sure. For me, I'm from Central and I'm from the Oro province.
Okay.
The difference between me visiting, my Central side and me visiting my Oro side is that when I go to Oro, we have a block there in the town, right? So we don't really go into the village where our grandparents grew up in, all of that. So when I go to Oro, we still have somewhat, some sort of, we still have power, we still have running water, all of that. The difference is when I go to my dad's village in the Central province. So my dad is from the Abao district. I'm from an area called Mailu, and Mailu is located at the border, right at the border of Milne Bay and Central province. And people from Abao would know that the roads there still needs work.
Yeah.
And so just getting from Port Moresby to my dad's village is already a struggle in itself. Like we just
the lack of accessibility.
Lack of accessibility. And I'll share a personal experience. There was a nephew of mine who had lost his life because he was bitten by the black Papua snake. Yeah. And they're so far away from basic services like health, and it took a while for them to take him to an aid post, and once he got there he lost his life, and this was so many years ago. And over time they've started putting aid posts in areas closer to my village, but these are the struggles that my people face, right? And it's like you said, it's a privilege to live in a city where I have access to all of this. And so like just thinking about roads and thinking back to what EU has done for Papua New Guinea.
Really, I think your example would be really good, especially to like you talked about roads and accessibilities. And one thing, really good examples that I would love to share of what the European Union is doing is they're actively doing work in East and West Pacific in terms of road rehabilitation. And I think you could see these examples of the ongoing projects that have already been done in the West and East Pacific, and really see that as a youth, what can you do for your communities? Like you could see simple experiences like what Nelson has shared about his nephew, losing his life because he was bitten by a snake, and see that, okay, if I don't have the road accessibility, what can I do? How can I go about it? And EU already has these opportunities for you, but it's just about you as a youth to step up and see what you can do for your communities. And we will say this towards the end, but if you do want to reach out for any queries, we do have the emails in the description. But again, as a youth, you really have to see, like, if there is difficult living conditions in your communities, maybe not not in the urban areas as much, as we can see by our shared experience and maybe of yours as well. If you are living in the city, that you have the privilege, but you can maybe take what you have, the knowledge that you have, take it back home and see what are the real examples that are happening and how can you make that difference? How can you be that change? But how about you? What is your thoughts around it?
So for me, I'm basically in POM for education, right?
Yes.
So when I go back to my province, I can see a big shift in infrastructure wise. So here in the city, we have roads, we have electricity, we have water. When I go back home, I see that there is a need for better roads. I mean, New Ireland has good roads, but not everywhere in the province. There are still remote villages that needs roads.
Yeah.
So that is one thing I see. Port Moresby has better roads. New Ireland really doesn't. So for someone like me, a youth that lives in the city, when I go back, I can identify the areas that needs improvement or needs more infrastructure.
Yeah, with the exposure to the infrastructure that you have here in the urban areas. I mean, I would say the same. So I come from West New Britain, and like I recently visited the place, and honestly, I would say one issue, or most of the issues we face in all our rural areas, is the road and just the accessibility. So in terms of, if there's a death in the family, like in terms of transporting, or in terms of marketing as well, or trading, it's also difficult for them. But like we said, if you've seen these issues being happening, or and you've seen it that I should be doing something. I don't want to keep seeing this happening to my people. Well, there are opportunities out there. You just have to be able to step up and take on the challenge to lead your community as the next future generations for this country. And in turn, we do already have the infrastructure, but again, it's about how can we protect these infrastructures. We have a call out that we need this, but when we're given it, sometimes we don't appreciate the infrastructure, and we need to make sure that we need to understand the importance of it. As we discussed, infrastructure is important. It is important to our country, our people, the children. It gives back to health, educating our people, and any other thing that will better our lives. So we've seen in our urban areas, we have good infrastructure going as well as our rural, but there's always the problem of maintaining that infrastructure. So what would you, how would you help the youths understand that, infrastructure it's there for your good? And how can they be able to, would we rather them coming together and working towards, maintaining this? What are your thoughts? Like, how can we help our people understand that infrastructure is good? And especially to sustain, if we sustain it by maintaining it as well, we can preserve it for the future. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've been working in the youth space for over 5 years now. Started when I was in uni. And so I think one thing that I realize about young people is they just wanna be involved. And so with the organization that I lead, and with the dance company or the platform that I've created for all these young people,
You deal with a lot of youths, yeah.
a lot of them, and so these are young people that come from different backgrounds, different walks of life, different experiences. What I realized that they just want a place where they belong, and if you allow them to put all of those pent up emotions and energy into something positive, then they will do great things.
Yeah.
And say, for example, with Art Activism PNG and with the Resistance Dance Company, we're starting from scratch, right? And for these young people to feel like they're being part of something that that's just starting out, and they're helping build this thing. It gives them this sense of purpose. And so I think that's one thing that a lot
Empowering
of
youth
exactly
is
there's one thing that a lot of young people in Papua New Guinea are currently lacking is that agency and that sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And I think it's about us in
collaborating working together,
and
having these
us,
sort of conversations.
Yeah, exactly. Just mentoring these young people to realize
training.
There's more to life than just going out to the streets and graffitiing or putting your energy into things that are negative in our society, in different communities. And so providing these types of spaces where young people can work together and
Do better for their
communities and contribute to nation building.
Yeah, because I mean, you are the future, so
Yeah.
you can't wait around for the change to happen. You'll have to make something happen.
Yeah,
if you're
exactly.
tired of something, stand up and make a difference.
Can I just add to that? So you mentioned about youths just wanting to belong. So linking that with infrastructure, if youths feel that something belongs to them, they tend to take care of it.
Exactly.
So if they feel that these roads that EU has built, if they feel that it belongs to them, they will take care of it. If they feel that the electricity poles belong to them, they will take care of it.
Yeah. Exactly. It's all about like I said, you see a lot of young people, vandalizing and graffitiing different buildings and infrastructure in the urban areas of Papua New Guinea. But why are they doing that? Is it because they want to be heard, or is it because they want to have some sort of ownership of this particular infrastructure? And so how can, it's about thinking about like, why are they doing these things and how can we help them, use that type of energy into, like I said, nation building or doing something better for their communities.
Well, thank you for your contributions. And I mean, I agree completely. I guess maybe we can see it in that aspect that, they're looking for a way to be motivated to do change, but in their communities and, seeing the real-time examples that are already happening in our provinces done by the EU partnerships really says a lot about what they would want for our communities. They want communities where there's access, there's safety, and our people are able to receive the basic needs that they need for their everyday lives. And that is truly what is important, because it's helping our mothers, it's helping the children, and it's doing more good than we think, okay? And it's something to really look at. And in terms of sustainability, going back, it's all about sustainable infrastructure. Looking at the sustainable part of it, what would you say, what is the importance of sustainability in terms of infrastructure for the future of Papua New Guinea? We can start with Theodora.
So I think for PNG, having good sustainable infrastructure is key, because we are a diverse country and we experience a lot of challenges, especially with the geography of our country. So having sustainable infrastructure will really not benefit just us, but the future generation, like I've already mentioned, especially in the rural areas. We also experience flooding, and this is something that really destroys our roads and a lot of infrastructure. So having a good, sustainable infrastructure is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, like I said, I'm part Oro, and then in 2007, there was a cyclone that hit our province, Cyclone Guba, and it really affected, the infrastructure there. It affected communication lines, it affected power, they didn't have access to clean water. And so, having sustainable infrastructure that can, like Theodora said, infrastructure that can last and that can withstand natural disasters like cyclones, right? And so I think that's very important for Papua New Guinea, like she said, in terms because of like our geography and our climate and all the different natural disasters that the rural parts of Papua New Guinea face every day. I think it's important to have infrastructure that's sustainable.
Yes, and also sustainable infrastructure, like we've already had UE building roads in East Sepik and West Sepik, so the road is already there. Part of having sustainable infrastructure is also maintaining it.
Yeah.
So as communities, it's important for them to also know that, the development's already here. What can we do to help maintain it and sustain it, for the future?
Right.
Well, agreed. Well, thank you so much for all your insightful your inputs and joining in this conversation. And I hope you guys have enjoyed what they've shared today. But also, before we go and end this conversation, I'd really love for you guys to leave a message with the youths. So just anything, it could be related to the topic or just something you would want to empower the youths with before we end this conversation.
I'll start with you.
Yeah, sure. Hi. I just want to say thank you for listening to this podcast. I also want to say that you are privileged, and it's up to you to use that privilege for good. And I want you to realize that we all have different forms of privilege. We don't have just the privilege of waking up in in our home that has water and has power. You have the privilege of being from a country that is democratic, and you come from a country that allows you to stand up for what is right and what you believe in. How can you use that privilege? And I think this conversation should help you understand that there are different pathways that you can take to better your communities. And so my note to you is, what is your privilege and how can you use it to build this nation?
Thank you, Nelson. Theodora?
As youths of Papua New Guinea, don't be lazy. Go out there and seek those opportunities and grab it and make it your own.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us here today. So guys, infrastructure is not just development for our communities, but it is more about connection, opportunities, and empowering every Papua New Guinean. And the European Union initiatives in the country are making that possible for us. So thank you again for tuning in on Spotify and also watching on YouTube. And if you've reached the end, please drop a comment down below so that we could answer it in the next podcast. And if you have any questions that you'd like to shoot to the European Union, we'll have the email drop down in the description so you can go around that. And also, please, again, come back next week for another powerful conversation with some other inspiring young individuals that you might want to hear from. And next week is actually about agribusiness. So I know we'd want to listen in for that. Again, thank you so much for joining us here today on Yumi Talk, Yumi Walk podcast. And remember, change starts with you.